Welcome to worship at First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York. I invite you now to join me in voice, body, and spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Where Do We Come From? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Now we're going to sing it as a round. You are welcome to follow any of the three parts. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian's online service. I am so happy that you are here with us today. I'm Shannon Foose, Membership Coordinator here at First U, and leading worship today are Reverend Sherry Halliday Kwan, and I'm so excited because we get to have our new minister, Reverend Margalie Belazaire, with us today giving our sermon. And as always, we have our wonderful Tommy Snell, Mary Hamley, and Arson. Behind the scenes, we have Tim Farnham, Emily Sanjanwala, Emma Hale, and our wonderful ushers making sure everything runs smoothly. Our mission here at First U is through spiritual connection and community. We listen deeply to others and ourselves, open to wonder and transformation, and serve with love and humility. I have one announcement today, and that is that we are having coffee hour after service. So please stay for that, especially if you are new and trying to connect. And even if you've been around a while and want to see old friends, please stay for that. Let us now take a deep breath together as we settle into this sacred place and time. Please join me in our chalice lighting words and say them together. May the flame we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, and to seek liberation in the fullness of community.
In March, when it seemed we would be hunkering down at home for a while, I started to make an incredibly ambitious to-do list. What better time to start all the things that I'd never had time for? With all this extra time on my hands, I just knew that I could clean out the basement, fix up the yard, create a new office space, donate stuff, find a job, start exercising, and writing in my journal. And read all those books and magazines in piles everywhere. You get the picture. Well, almost 6 months later, I actually started writing more to-do lists, wearing pajamas more, and dress-up clothes, well, never. And conserving water on fewer showers and laundry loads. I also started to spend more time concentrating on household chores that I used to scurry through, never really appreciating how great a thorough job. I started to send real mail to friends and relatives. I started to enjoy unhurried conversations on the phone. And I deepened my commitment to social justice action in our community and connecting with like-minded people. And this is why we come to church. Connections in time of peril and unrest is critical for our souls and our sanity. Action is critical for fighting hopelessness. Harnessing sadness, anger, and outrage is easier when your First Unitarian friends are there. At protests, on Facebook, group chats, Zoom meetings, over the phone, or at socially distanced tailgate parties. I appreciate sharing a few words, even through a mask, when delivering sewing supplies or donations. My vegetable garden may be overgrown with sage. My closet's only halfway organized, and I haven't lost a pound. But I have a sense of buoyancy on the life rings of friendship that so many Unitarians have tossed to me into the turbulent waters of 2020. What better time to start reaching out than right now?
Please join me now in singing Wake Now My Senses. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the truth. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here.
I now invite you into a moment of meditation. Let's first ground ourselves. Sit comfortably with your eyes closed if that feels good, or keep your eyes in a soft gaze about 1 to 2 feet in front of you. And simply notice if there are any tensions in your body. And where you feel it, let it go if you can. And if you can't go of that tension, simply notice it and wonder what's keeping it there. No judgment, no compassion, just compassion. I will now ask you to meditate on the words of the Maya Angelou poem, Alone. See if anything resonates with you, and this will be followed by a brief moment of silence. Lying, thinking last night, how to find my soul a home where water is not thirsty and bread loaf is not stone. I came up with one thing, and I don't believe that I'm wrong, that nobody, but nobody can make it here alone. Alone, all alone? Nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. There are millionaires with money they can't use. Their children sing the blues. They've got expensive doctors to cure their hearts of stone. But nobody, no, nobody can make it out here alone. Alone? All alone? Nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. Now, if you listen closely, I'll tell you what I know. Storm clouds are gathering. The wind is gonna blow. The human race is suffering, and I can bear and I can hear the moan. Because nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone. Nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone. Now, if your eyes are closed, open them slowly and rejoin this community that you are a part of and where you are not alone, and that you are divinity defined, a piece of it all. You are light.
pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am light. Light. I am 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 not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. All light. All light is all light. I am 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 divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. 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 I am light.
Beloveds, First Unitarian Rochester and beyond, wherever it is that you happen to be, I'm glad to be here with you. I'm the Reverend Sherry Halliday Kwan. I'm the lead minister here at First Unitarian, and many of you, but my guess is not all of you, know that this summer we've been blessed with the gift of a new second minister. The Reverend Margalie Belizaire has joined our team as the assistant minister for pastoral care and adult spiritual development. Lots of you had a chance to meet her when she first joined us with a drive-by welcome, and you helped stocked up her apartment so she really feels at home here. Normally, when we welcome a new minister into our midst, we have the opportunity not only to hear them preach, or as we did earlier, to have them bless us with a reading, to guide us in meditation or prayer, to hold us in community, but also to meet them in the receiving line or at coffee hour to get a chance to ask questions. We don't have quite the same opportunity here. And so I'm going to act as a proxy for all of you. My guess is you have lots of different questions. Some of you probably want to know about Reverend Margulies' cats. Some of you probably want to know about what Reverend Margulie has discovered in Rochester that she loves. Your questions, if I know Unitarian Universalists well, and I think that I do, are going broad and deep. I'm only going to have a chance to ask a few of them, but it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Reverend Margulie not only to our church, but also to this conversation. Reverend Margulie is going to join us, and here she is. Reverend Margulie, it's so good to be with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. It is so good to be here. So good to be here with you. So good to be with you, the entire congregation. Finally, it feels like, we did this thing, we had an agreement, and it took forever for me to get here. So I'm so glad to be here. So glad to be here.
And here, indeed, for you means right there in the church. So.
Actually, yes. Yes.
Fabulous. Well, I've already told everyone that we're not going to have a chance to get through everyone's questions. We know that this process of getting to know each other, of spiritual connection in community, is the work of weeks, months, a lifetime, really. So we're just going to start at the beginning, but we're not going to take it easy on you, I will admit. I'll start first with a question that grounds this whole endeavor. Let's begin at the beginning, and will you please tell us about your call to ministry? And does that still ring true now?
Yeah, I used to think, until maybe about 3 years ago, I used to think my call to ministry was recent. I thought it started at my first UU congregation in Cleveland, Ohio, where I really got excited about Unitarian Universalism, really got excited about the ministry, especially because the DRE there at the time was going to seminary, and we had lots of conversations. And then she mentioned to me one day, she's like, "Margulie, have you thought of going to seminary?" And then, now before she even asked, I was feeling this, and I was like, oh, wow, she, put what I was feeling to words. So I was excited about that. And so whenever I thought before of my call, that's where I would go to. But about 2 years ago, I was in Florida, Miami specifically, which is where I grew up, and I was attending a retreat. And then all of a sudden, I started thinking of me as a young Jehovah's Witness. And I think some of you may know that I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and we could talk about that some other time. But as I was in Miami, where I grew up, and I was thinking about myself as a young Jehovah's Witness, I realized how much of that ministry, that minister's spirit I embodied, and the Jehovah's Witness denomination, women cannot be ministers, but I remember having that desire and wanting to do that and doing everything up to that, because that was nothing to consider for me. And I think really becoming a Unitarian Universalist and then meeting the DRE who identifies as female, who's going to ministry, I think just kind of like reminded me of my call. As far as whether it still rings true today, yes, and in an exciting and scary way. How we start ministries isn't promised to us or anything like that. It just happened to be, this is when I'm entering it, but it really rings so true. I feel like this is what I'm made for. It feels real in my body and my spirit. It just feels like this is who I'm made for, to accompany others in this journey, in this spiritual journey. So it really feels like I feel like I'm home with this ministry. I'm home with this vocation, with this life. So yeah, it rings really true, and sometimes I just can't believe that I get to do this, you know. So yeah, that's my call, and how it still feels today. Yeah. You're muted, I believe.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. Already, we're going to be a good team, I can tell. I was just reflecting on that last sentence of sometimes it feels incredible that we are so lucky that we get to do this. And I'm grateful that you said yes to the call, but I certainly do agree with you that we are incredibly lucky to take up this work. And I'm incredibly lucky that I get to say to you what I say to folks who are normally not sitting on the chancel on the stage, but instead are joining us from all over, joining us as churchgoers, as seekers, as longtime members. Welcome home. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that thread that pulls you forward of your call, it's strong, it's vibrant, but it probably wasn't at its starting point imagining entering ministry at a time quite like this. What's it like to enter into this ministry right now, given all that's happening?
Yeah, there's this anonymous quote. I was trying to find who to credit it to, but I couldn't. That says, "Ministry calls us to be devoted to the holy, aware of the world, attentive to the movements of our own lives, and willing to follow where love and justice and devotion call us." Right? So that is, to me, that says, really, you can end up entering ministry in any and every kinds of situations. And it just so happens that this is when I'm entering ministry, you know, and I feel like also as a human being, as a minister, specifically as a Unitarian Universalist minister, I'm built for these times. I'm built for doing ministry in these times. You know, as a human being, I feel very broad emotional, mental capacity. I feel like I am able to hold a lot, and able to go deep, uncomfortable places, to places where sometimes we're not very, we don't want to open ourselves to other people with. And I am also, I feel, very good at being, I'm very good at being people in their honest joy for life. And so it just so happened right now we are in this really, so much is going on in our world, both with COVID and also, you know, dare I call it the revolution that's going on right now. And it could be, I suppose I could look at it as a scary time, but I also look at it as a UU minister, as a Unitarian Universalist, period, you know, and this is something I've mentioned before, that this is our sweet spot, right? Social justice, standing up, that's what we say, standing up, that's what we aspire to. I mean, let's put it that way, and that's not necessarily what we say, but what we aspire to. Stand up for the marginalized, stand up for the little person, stand up, and you know, so keeping all of those things in mind, so entering ministry in these turbulent times feels like, yeah, I need to make sure that I am taking care of the things that I need to do in myself so that I am ready and prepared to do the work that needs to be done. Because obviously there is a lot of suffering in the world, and right now with COVID, a lot of people are in isolation and really needing ministry. And I feel like that is something that I can do, and it's not even, so to say something that I enjoy doing is not the word, but it is something that I I feel that I'm skilled to do, and that I am, and I feel that there's a need for it, and it's a need that I welcome. It's a need that I welcome, and I don't know. Sometimes I think if there was a time for me to enter ministry, a time that would suit my personality, what I have to offer as a person, as a Unitarian Universalist, this is the time, really. I remember, for example, when COVID first hit us, and it was a scary time for a lot of people, rightfully so. But for me, it was like, okay, so what needs to be done? Okay, I felt like I needed to be in the front lines to kind of like, okay, what needs to be done? What needs to be collected here? What needs to be done there? Because that's how my body responds to things. And it's not until we're in it and we are already in it that I'm like, oh, wait, this huge thing is happening. And then I can then maybe feel it for me, like what it means for me to reflect on. So at the beginning of something, I am ready to do what is the thing that needs to be done. And then once that's taken care of, it's like, whew, okay, so, you can take a moment now and breathe and take care of the things you need to take care of. So entering, I hope I have answered your question, but it really is a time that's asking a lot of us. It's asking, I think, a lot of me. At the same time, I feel like it is a time that I'm prepared to be in, and prepared to do the things that we need to do as a denomination, as a congregation. See where we go. So yeah. You're muted again.
Sorry about that. It's for the best because I have lots of questions and it actually cuts them down a little bit. But I will say you did answer the question, but now I have so many more. I mean, this idea of Unitarian Universalism and Unitarian Universalists, as well as you, being made for such a time as this, that there's plenty of reflecting and growth and change, and also our history and our strengths and our resilience leads us to exactly a moment that we find ourselves in. That's something I'm really excited to explore with you in the coming year. But I think the major takeaway from me, you said a lot that was a gift, but 5 months into that moment where you had to figure out, okay, what's the thing that needs to happen? If we haven't started breathing, we should probably get on that. So take a breath. I'm going to remember that. Good.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the other thing to keep in mind, if we think about it, and then as we hear other people talk about their times, granted, this is on a global scale, people are always talking about, oh my gosh, these are the worst of times, right? So all that to say is this is our thing that we need to deal with. This is the thing that the folks who are right now living on this planet, this is the thing that we are dealing with, and it is a big thing. There's no other one to deal with it other than us, because it has come to us, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, we are the ones.
Yeah.
So we are the ones, but what does it mean to be meeting all of these ones, these hundreds of ones? What does it feel like to be meeting a congregation largely in a virtual space? I mean, you're physically at the church now, but part of you being there is that we can't be there together in full force. So instead, we gather together online in full force. How are you meeting us digitally? What's that like?
Yeah, it is definitely an unusual way to try to get to know people, meet people for the first time, right? Because when you think about it, the nuances of what happens when we're in person, whether or not we're talking, if there's a group of people, I think because, part of my theology is we are connected, whether we are fully aware of it or not. We're connected. And so when you're in person and you're in a room with other people, whether or not you're saying words to that person, you feel that presence, right? There's somebody else there, somebody's talking, you see the body language, because sometimes someone they didn't have to say a word and you can tell that they're in distress or they're joyful, right? So all those nuances, yes, I have to say, I can't wait for the time when we can be in person and I can really feel and see those nuances. At the same time, I feel like my experiences again have in a way prepared me for trying to build community virtually. So, for example, I was a learning fellow with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And for those who may not know what the Church of the Larger Fellowship is, it is our very own Unitarian Universalist virtual congregation, online congregation that's been around for a little while. For quite a while. And I was a learning fellow with the Church of the Larger Fellowship for the past 2 years, and really everything is done online. Service is done online, pastoral care, there's a prison ministry, anything and everything. So because of that, building community online and engaging people online continues to feel pretty normal for me, and I'm doing this, or at least it doesn't, I know that it is possible to connect with people online and virtually, and sometimes I don't know if it's because people are in their own space and they feel pretty safe, and then there are things that people will type in the chat or say that they would not necessarily say in person, and that is something. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, this was something really deep and personal for someone. But I think sometimes when someone is alone in their own home or their own space, they feel that freedom to do that. So I was fully aware that that could happen. And additionally, I graduated recently from Meadville Lombard, and part of our training was because my fellow seminarians were coming from all over the country. So part of what we did was build online community. We were put into triads where we were required to maintain weekly contacts with one another, plan services and different things together online. So having relationships online is something that I have been doing for quite a while. So it doesn't feel completely stressful for me. And I was thinking also about as hard as it is, and I am well aware of that, as hard as it is for some of us to be doing this, to be engaging one another primarily virtually, I also want to lift up that there are folks who, because of maybe mobility issue or other issues, or who have not been able to step foot in a congregation or not been able to participate in the different activities of a congregation, who are able to do that because so much is happening online. And the other thing, and I don't know yet how connected First U is to the larger denomination at large, the UUA, but I feel like in May, I believe, the UUA had a vigil, which so many UUs attended. It almost feels like connecting with one another virtually connects us a little bit more to the larger denomination, I think, because there are things that, GA, for example, there were so many people who were able to attend who probably would not have, or could not have had attended had it not been virtual. So all those different ways all those different opportunities that have been offered to us because of that. Now, some of you who attended to my ordination knows, my ordination happened online, and I dare say it was pretty. I felt so much love coming from all of you. I felt so connected to people even through the screen, and some of you may recognize. I don't know if any of you have seen this yet, but this is the stole that. First you of Rochester, you all gave me. So I'm just gonna stand up a little bit and step back so you can see it. Thank you so much. And I would like to think that if you had the chance to attend my ordination, that it felt like we were UUs in community together, and just kind of like, and I even remember it was a especially difficult weekend. That weekend, that was the weekend following the George Floyd killing, and so it felt like a good place for us to gather together and be in community as UUs. So, yeah, it is it is definitely an unusual way to meet people, but I feel like you've been doing it, right? You all have been doing it and connecting with one another, and I feel like I have been engaging you all primarily on the screen, and I can feel how much you are welcoming me. I feel so wanted here. I feel like there is space for me here, and you've been able to do that for me virtually, and I hope that I will be able to return the favor and be able to really communicate well with you virtually, get to know you, and I guess the only thing I'm asking is, since there are so many of you and one of me, to be a little patient with me as I learn how things are done here, but my hope is to really get to know you, and this is the way we can do it, so this is the way we're going to do it. So, yeah.
Well, it's good to be doing it together. Yeah. So for my final question, I will exercise a little bit of minister's privilege here, in that I don't think it's a question that most of the people in the congregation may have thought to ask you, but it's a cornerstone of the way I center myself in the world and my theological groundings for what it means to be a person and an actor, an agent in the world, which is to say none of us are doing any of this alone, and none of us emerge without context. And so in the ways that our aspirations and our intentions guide us, as they often do in Unitarian Universalism, our background and our experiences and the people that came before us are critical to my identity. I talk a lot about who and what loved me into being. So, Reverend Margalit, who loved you into being?
You know, there are many people who have loved me into this space, but I want to talk specifically about my grandfather. So bear with me, just kind of tell you a little bit as far as why I want to focus on him. Around the time that I started seminary, I was at the library one day doing some work or something, and then I realized all of a sudden that I was thinking of my grandfather. That's my maternal grandfather. And all I could feel is my body shaking, and I was crying and weeping uncontrollably. My whole body felt warm, and I was sobbing to the point where I knew that I couldn't stay in the library, that I needed to go somewhere where I could actually cry and sob and feel all the things that I was feeling. But as I was feeling the things I was feeling, I also kept saying, I'm sorry, and so I was saying I'm sorry, but right away I wasn't fully aware of why I was saying I was sorry. But I realized, and somewhat shockingly that I was grieving my grandfather for the first time, and he had been dead at this point for over 20 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, how? How could I only now be grieving my grandfather? And yeah, you know, life, a lot of things happen in life, and sometimes people slip from our memory, but like how? You know, and I decided that I was gonna take that day and dedicate it to my grandfather. And so I left the library, I went home, and I just cried. And it just so happened that my niece was visiting me, my niece from Georgia was visiting me. And so not only was I grieving my grandfather, I got the opportunity then to speak about him to his great granddaughter, who knew about her great grandfather, but not enough. So we talked for a while, and then we both got really sad, and she was really interested in hearing about her grandfather, but at the end, great grandfather. But at the end of that day, I decided that there was never going to be a time when I wasn't fully aware of my grandfather, and that there was no way that I was just gonna let him not be someone who was prominent in my life, or the memory of him. And I feel like I've done that. And I also concluded that I needed to honor him, which I try to do every day in how I live, because he is the one, I think, who from an early age, yes, my mom, my dad, I knew loved me, but my grandfather, I feel that he was really the first person that I knew completely loved me, and that I was really his favorite. My siblings know it, so. So I don't know that he could have imagined that his love for me, is what really has given me so much strength throughout life and has brought me to this place, you know. And then so, and when I'm thinking again, I'm sorry that I kept saying that day. And I think, well, even now, since the pandemic, I have this thought that there are other people in my life, and maybe in your life, that we have let escape our remembrance, that for whatever reason, you know. So who are the people that you may have slipped away from your memory? Who are the people you may have let slipped away from your heart? People who have done right by you, people who have loved you, people who you have missed, but for whatever reason you haven't been able to reach out to them. You know, one of the things that people kept talking about, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, was how this is a time for us to slow down, implying, of course, that life had been moving so fast for us. But maybe in your slowing down, you have been able to reach out to some of those people. I know for me, I've been in touch with other people I hadn't talked to in quite a while. And those may be people who you've been wanting to reconnect to, right? But you have, something has prevented you. This is a good excuse, COVID-19 and other things that's going on in the world. The world as we know it seems a little bit upside down. Those are giving us excuses and reasons to be able to reach out to other people. And those people may be blood relatives. They may be people we have chosen as families, friends who have become family to us, which is a really big part of my story. So who are those people, and have you been reaching out to them, and can you reach out to them? You know, who are the people who have loved you into the space that you are right now? I invite you to reach out to them and to keep close to them. May it be so.
We now invite you into the spiritual practice of generosity. Every Sunday, we take up an offering, which is split between our church and organizations in our wider community that lead us in the work of justice and compassion. Today, our collection will be split with Oxfam, formerly known as Oxford Famine Relief. Established after World War II, Oxfam is a global organization working to end the injustice of poverty. Their goal is to help people build better futures for themselves, hold the powerful accountable, and save lives in disasters. Right now, they are collecting donations to help the people of Beirut, Lebanon, who endured a massive explosion on August 4th. It leveled the city and left hundreds of thousands homeless, injured, and with missing family members. Working with international partners, Oxfam will provide water, sanitation, and cash to individuals suffering these terrible losses. There are a number of ways to give, including Venmo, Simple Church, or mailing a check. Please specify plate collection and Oxfam in your description or comments. Thank you for contributing as generously as you are able. There is no better time to give.
Please join me now in singing our next hymn, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I lead my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my talk, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Now, please join me in extinguishing our chalice by reading the chalice lighting words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So, go in peace, live simply, gently, at home with yourselves act justly, speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power and the days of your powerlessness. Crave peace for all the world, beginning with yourself. And go as you go with the dream of that peace alive in your heart. The word of Reverend Mark Bellantini. May it be so.